allergies, and a lack of choice in his life. And now for each of these, you'd have a corresponding table of strategies. So for example, if he's got allergies, maybe he can take a Claritin before he comes to school, and then we don't have to deal with the setting event of allergies at school. If he has a lack of choice in his life, then maybe we need to just improve his predictability, and then that will take off the edge, and those setting events are attenuated. So you got those setting events. The teacher or SEA requests or demands to do an academic task, answer a question or seat work. That triggers negative vocalizations, non-compliance, and a tantrum. That gets him out of doing his work, escapes the task. The holy grail would be if the teacher asks him to work, he should answer the questions when asked and complete the seat work. And the maintaining consequence for that would be praise, free time or choice activity, extra time in the weight room for this particular guy. But he doesn't do that very often. So the replacement behavior is that he asks for a break, a short break. That's better than negative vocalizations and non-compliance. He's still not doing the task, but he started to ask appropriately, and then we bring him back. Right? And you might say, well, how many breaks is he going to get? Well, now we have to get creative and solve his problem. Maybe he has a quota system. He's got 3 opportunities to ask for break that he can use at his discretion. But once he's used them all, then he's break bankrupt. He can't ask anymore, and he has to do the work. But maybe having had that element of control, he now cooperates with the demand, or maybe it needs additional strategies. But it gives you a starting place to address the problem behavior. In this one, there are no setting events. The antecedent is the EA directs attention to another child. When that happens, our student pushes the other student and grabs the teacher. The consequence is tells him to wait or says stop, which means he gets attention. So you can see what's the function here? Attention, maintained by positive reinforcement because the attention is added contingent on grabbing behavior. What should he do if the EA directs attention to someone else? He should wait for the attention, right? What we'd expect from anybody. And then after time, the EA would pay attention to him after an appropriate time of waiting. So what's an ARB, a replacement behavior, to work our way towards that holy grail? When the EA directs attention to someone else, we should teach him to say, can I talk to you? So this might take some role play and some trialing and some prompting. And if we teach this, then we have to honor this. And so if the EA is working with him and then directs your attention over here, and he says, can I talk to you? We've taught him that this is the replacement behavior and it's better than the baseline behavior, and we have to say, excuse me, and immediately reinforce that response, right? And if you do this, you no longer have the problem behavior occurring, right? Kids and teachers aren't being pushed, and that's immediately better. What's the downside of this? He's still just sucking all of the attention, right? The person still can't turn away. But if you can replace the problem with this first step communicative response, now you've got options available, right? What's maybe perhaps the next logical thing is you redirect your attention. He says, can I talk to you? And you say, yes, you can talk to me. Just 1 second. Okay, thank you for waiting. He just waited. He waited for a microsecond, but he waited, right? And then you slowly and systematically build that up. Yes, you can talk to me, just 1 second. Thank you for waiting 2 seconds. How can I help you? Right? And then you just keep doing the finger counts until you're out of fingers, and you systematically just increase the time. You've got options available to you, and you've displaced the problem with an appropriate communicative response. Another one, no setting events that we can identify. Let me back up there. Have any of you had this problem where if you pay attention to other kids, your target student gets upset? A few of you? It can be really difficult to work with, right? And part of it, what it's telling us, and we talked about that yesterday, is if we're working towards independence, then the person cannot become accustomed to 100% dedicated attention all day long. There's no future in this, right? So this is also indicative of a larger problem that needs to be addressed. I had a kiddo I worked with who was so sophisticated at this that he picked his targets very carefully. If his mom wasn't paying attention to him in public, he would engage in problem behavior so that she had to pay attention to him. And he developed a very, very effective go-to strategy. If they were out in public and mom started talking to somebody else, he'd scan the environment and the potential victims, and he would identify infants. And he would go up to babies in mother's arms and just reach over and pinch them really hard. And the baby will scream, and then the mama bear will close in, ready for the kill, right? And get really angry and look at his mom, and his mom will be mortified, and he's just got the biggest smile, because look what happened. Look, everyone's paying attention to me. This is so effective, right? So it can be a really, really big problem. It needs a replacement behavior. Asked to share a toy from a peer. And when asked, he will cry and flop and kick and bite and engage in self-injurious behavior, SIB. And so what do? Well, you jump in and you block the self-injurious behavior because it's not okay for him to hurt himself. And you wait and you remove the expectation that he has to share with whoever was asking to share. What's the function? Tangible, right? If I do this, I don't need to share my item. I get to keep my thing, which is the tangible function. What would be a better way of refusing? It's still okay to refuse, but you could say no. You could say no, thank you. But this needs to be taught because it's not happening. Why? Because if I go straight to this, it works really, really quickly for me. And so it's going to need some instruction to teach the replacement behavior. Right? What's the holy grail desired behavior? You should just share in an age-appropriate way, right? And what that looks like is dependent on the age. That one's a little bit smaller. Setting event, impairments in fine motor skills, printing and communication. The antecedent trigger, a writing task or other task requiring writing instrument. He completes one item. What does he do? Non-compliance. He drops, rolls, and throws the pencil. And this escapes from the demand. The BI or EA helps and removes the tasks, and he gets attention. So there's escape and attention as part of this consequence. What should he do, given this antecedent, is just complete the writing activity and get praise and token and move on to the next activity. The short-term replacement behavior is that D will request help or ask for an alternative activity. I want using his iPad. So he can ask for a replacement task. So he's not doing nothing, but he gets to choose from an array of appropriate or pre-identified alternatives. Right? So again, it's not the be-all, end-all, but it is a start. And that's what the CPD, the competing pathway diagram, does for us. It allows us to plot out the information we've gathered, developing our functional hypotheses, the four-term contingency, and then think about what's the first replacement behavior, and that's the beginning of a plan to move forward. Here's another one. Allergies, demand placed during intensive teaching, so one-on-one at a table, engages in tantrum, not a great typography word. Request is lessened or assistance is given. So what might happen is, in this case, it's not that the demand is removed, but instead of doing 20 questions, we're just going to do 10, right? And I'll help you with them. So that made it far more easy for me to, as the student here, to tolerate as opposed to doing the full 20 questions. So even if I'm not getting completely out of it, I'm still escaping the full magnitude of the original demand. He should just complete his work and get verbal praise, tangible reinforcement. A replacement behavior would be to ask for help in some way. And in terms of what's the communication topography, it depends on your student. It could be sign language, picture exchange, iPad, spoken word, whatever suits the individual's communication repertoire. One more. He didn't eat breakfast, he had a poor sleep. Those would be setting events for all of us. Presented with a task, demand in therapy, he will hit, bite, scream, and the work is removed, which is escape. Again, here, functionally equivalent response would just be to sign for break, and then their demand is removed. You're still not getting any work done, but you're not having any problem behavior, and you are having prosocial communicative behavior. It's a start, and then you work as a team for the next evolution and the next evolution. Okay? So in your handouts, you have blank CPDs. I strongly encourage you to start printing out the blank copies and just plotting problem behaviors in there to see what it looks like and start giving you an idea to think functionally first and foremost, and then think of a functionally equivalent replacement behavior. That ARB block is really going to be the first step to a solution to your problem.